Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Badass Black Girl. My name is MJ, and today we have a wonderful guest with us, Katia D. Ulysse. Hi, Katia.
Hi, MJ. How are you?
Well, now that you're here, I'm feeling really excited because I know that you're going to share so many wonderful things with us. A little bit about your background, a little bit of your wisdom. So I can say that I'm doing all right.
Wisdom. Okay, we'll wait and see about that.
So, Katia, let me ask you, what makes you a badass black girl?
What makes me a badass black girl? You. You calling me one. And I completely appreciate the opportunity to be here. Perseverance. Perseverance in the face of all kinds of craziness. Refusing to give up. I can't, and I won't. In the face of situations that tell me that, why don't you just drop the bucket and just go do something else? And I tell myself, nope. I have a dream. I have a dream. It's more than a dream. I have a goal, and I've got some things that I need to accomplish. And what makes me a badass black girl? I didn't really think about that question. My daughter, 16-year-old girl, my daughter. Some things that I accept that certain people might do to me, I don't accept it as my daughter, as Juliette's mother. As Juliette's mother, I'm a completely different person. Like, do what you will to me, but when it comes to my daughter, I'm a completely different person. Yeah. I'm a badass black girl, a badass black woman, just ready.
I love that. I love that fierceness about you. So, who are you? Please, for those who don't know Katia, how would you introduce yourself?
How would I introduce? My word, these are questions that I literally never thought of. Like when you're a writer and they say send your bio, and so you send a little bio, and then when you're sitting on the panel and somebody reads it and you go, okay, okay, and then when it's your time to read and do your thing and you just do it. But how would I introduce myself? Wow, that somebody would say, what's wrong with her? She doesn't know who she is. It's not that I don't know who I am. It's that I've been afraid. Ooh, we're going to get to a different place here that I really shouldn't get into. I know who I am deep inside, but I have been in a space for as long as I can remember where I've had to conceal my identity, my true self. The self I know myself to be, the person I've been since I was 5 years old, happy. I want to write, I want to sing, I want to be with people, I want to be with happy people, I want to be in an environment where I can grow, where people around me are very smart and I'm learning from them. But the environment that I've been in has been more of a cage than anything else. And so somebody would say, well, get out of the cage. In some instances, it's not that simple. So I recognize where I am, and I've had to live under the radar so to speak. And I'm just, I really truly feel like I'm in limbo. I really feel like I'm in limbo. But in terms of being a badass Black girl / mom, there's no question about that. There's no question about that. So introducing myself, hey, guess what? I'm going to borrow a term from one of my favorite people, Michelle Obama. How would I introduce myself? I'm becoming.
I love
You
it.
know, constantly becoming. And I have faith. I have deep, I'm not particularly religious, but I've got deep faith. I've got profound faith that the picture that I've started to paint all those many years ago, you know, I just keep adding strokes to it, adding strokes. And sometimes it's not exactly what I'd imagined, but it just keeps turning into something. It's turning into something. And I guess it will never be done until the very last stroke, which is the last day of my life. In the meantime, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going out and getting paint. I'm going to keep going and using whatever I've got to use to keep painting that picture. And I think that's one way that I can say or introduce myself. My daughter did this wonderful painting that I have directly across from me here. It's a woman standing like this with, of course, the Haitian flag around her neck. It's flowers coming out of her head, and it says still growing. And so, yeah, still growing and becoming. How about you? How would you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm definitely the badass Black girl. Yeah. I decided, you know what? I'm going to take this title and just embrace it and become it. Because, being badass um, doesn't mean that you're badass 100% of the time. Because sometimes we're just overwhelmed by what's going on around us, the demands that are made of us, particularly Black women. But I think part of it is also a decision. The fact that we have to decide that we're going to be badass no matter what. It's not going to come naturally to us. We're going to feel discouraged. We're going to feel a little overwhelmed, but we're still going to act badass until badass becomes us, right? So that's how I introduce myself these days. I'm just a badass Black girl, making things happen, um making sure my art gets done, making sure that I have a voice, making sure that I'm also lifting other people up in the process, right? And that's one thing you said, Katia, that is so important when you introduce yourself. This idea that we're here for each other. You said, "Well, I'm badass because you called me badass." That's what you said, and I think it's important for um, women, particularly Black women, to lift each other up. And I'm so I, I'm so thankful that we're part of the same community and that we get to have those conversations. We get to know each other. We get to just be together. I'm really thankful.
Well, so am I. I mean, I'm kind of beyond thankful because I've known you now for, a couple of years and going down to Miami for the uh for the book fair and so on, and watching you. Wow, talk about, energy. Talk about energy, running around making 100 things happen at once. I would get tired just watching you. Like, how did she do it? 1 second she's There she goes. Oh, no, there, yeah, you are all over the place. And so, I'm so thankful for some great memories that we've had. Thankful for the pictures that I took, and to know that those times were actually real. And and they will happen again. It will happen again.
For sure. And what I like about our relationship is that whenever we get together, we have those very deep conversations. They start very casual and then they turn really intense. Actually, before we started the video, we were having one such conversation. And the reason why I'm like, oh, let's get started is because I didn't want us to get into certain aspects that other people could benefit from. So I'm like, oh, maybe we should be on camera right now and share a little bit of our experience with other people because there's so much to be learned from each other, right? Uh,
Yeah.
we we spoke at some point, you and I, about the impact that the pandemic has had on you personally, not just on your writing, because you're that talented writer and that's
Thank you so
primarily
much.
how I know you. Yes, you are definitely top, right? And but you're
Thank you
also a
so much.
teacher, and we
Yeah.
talked about the impact of the pandemic on you as a teacher. And today we talked a little bit on the impact of the pandemic as you a Haitian woman, right? So we are being impacted in so many different ways because we wear so many different hats. And I kind of wanted to start by revisiting this conversation we had, you, Katia, the teacher, and talk a little bit about how you doing and how how are you faring during the pandemic as a teacher?
It's been okay. It's been okay because I've taught, at the college level where we're just, where we've done this. But teaching at a high school, and I've taught. I've taught, I remember one of the hardest grade I ever taught in my life was kindergarten. So I've got absolute respect for kindergarten teachers. You know those things they give to teachers when you're not doing a good job, like a personal improvement plan.
Right.
Yeah, I got one when I taught kindergarten. Because I love the kids so much. I just treated them like my little babies. I was like, oh, and then I remember the principal said, "That's no, that's not how you do it." Because I just love them so much. I wanted to just embrace and adopt all of them. She said, "But they're all little scholars." I'm like, "Yeah, but they're 5 years old, and I want them all to be my little babies." So that didn't work out too well. But now that I'm working with older people, 18, 17, and so on, I think it's very difficult on the students because I work in a very impoverished area in schools where the resources are few. And so now suddenly the students are given um, electronic devices to use to attend school, and they don't know what to do with them. Everybody's sitting around looking at the keyboard trying to find the enter key. And so we've got students who are not doing well because they're, the question is, how am I doing as a teacher? My response to teaching, my idea of being a good teacher is the moment when your students no longer need you is the moment that you've achieved your goal as a teacher. I'm a big believer in that. But if I'm teaching and the students constantly need me, something is not working.
Right.
Something is just not working when I cannot release that how do you say, that responsibility to them. So because they've got all kinds of other, and I'm in Baltimore, and the students they have all kinds of issues. that academics is just something that they're striving, that they're struggling to get through, because there are all kinds of baggage and other issues. And then add to that the fact that they cannot be in the same building with their friends. It's very difficult for them. So as a teacher, if my students are not happy, you know, what good am I? I'm unhappy. So then I try my best to just keep going, to just do what I do and keep it, just keep going. But I hear them, and I feel their pain, because I've been a teacher for 15 years. This is my 16th year, and every year I quit. After my 3rd year of teaching, when I realized that this is not easy, and I said, I quit. I am gone. I am out of here. I threw out all of my supplies. I quit. And I've been quitting for the past 12 years. Every year by June, they know me by now. You know what? I quit. I'm out of here. I quit. They're like, yeah. And August, before anything starts, guess who's the first person back in the building? So now they don't take me seriously. Every time I say I quit, they're like, yeah, see you in a few weeks. And I'll be there in the summer, you know, just, you know, to go back to what we said before, I guess one of the ways I would introduce myself is, you know, I'm a teacher too, you know, I'm a storyteller.
Let's
You
talk a
know,
little bit about that. So, in addition to being a teacher, we mentioned uh, how much you write, right? You've been writing for years. You have so many books under your belt. Tell us a little bit about this aspect of your life, being a storyteller, being a writer.
I I I don't know what else I would have been, or I could be, if I didn't have stories to tell. I can't, I must have been telling stories since, I don't know. I What I do remember is my great grandmother, I don't know, sitting on her porch, and we have the little small chairs, right? The little t-shirts. And I would sit on one, and at her knee, put my head on her knee, and she would stroke my hair, and she would tell me these very frightening tales, you know, about demons eating, you know. And so, and I remember I would just be shivering, but I didn't want to get up. I loved it. She told the best stories, and every story, of course, came with a beautiful song. And so I love, because we lived in a compound, right? And it was like a horseshoe shape. So our house, my family's house, was on this side, and my great grandmother's house was at the other, you know, tip or head of the horseshoe. And so all I had to do was cross within the compound to get to her front porch. And so it was okay, you know, in Haiti, it was okay. I was not in the street by any means. I was within our family land or family compound. And she told these amazing stories, which I have recounted to my daughter. But at this stage, at this point, I've forgotten some of the details, you know, so I put in my own little pepper, my own, my own little spice here and there. And Juliette will say, Mommy, that's not the story you told me last time. I'm like, well, there are different aspects. There are different versions. So this is just one of the versions. But you know, she's pretty much caught on that I'm just doing my best to remember my great grandmother's stories. And then when I got on the airplane, when we were given the visa to come to the United States as permanent residents, I remember looking at the airport, or looking from the airplane at the airport, the area where the people stood and they were waving goodbye and so forth. I remember looking at them, and I remember thinking that I could see them or their shape, but they couldn't see me through the little window in the airplane. And that was when I started to write. You know, I wrote a letter to them, and that was when I started to write like a fiction, really, because I was not communicating with them. You know, but prior to that, in elementary school, at Anne-Marie Javoué in Pétionville, some of the girls who had crushes on boys, I don't know why they came to me and asked me to pen love letters. And I didn't care who the boys were. So I was good at it. Oh, yes. Oh, ow, ow, ow. And I would write these beautiful love letters. And I think this is why in my little short stories and my tiny little books, you will not find a love scene or anything like that. I'm loved out. So yeah.
This is really funny. So tell us a little bit about the first time you knew that you wanted to be a writer. You mentioned how other people saw the writer in you, but tell us about writing that first manuscript that you knew you were gonna try to get published, that and you knew you just wanted to be part of that world permanently.
Well, the first thing that I wrote, well, I undergrad, I took a creative writing class. I was an English lit major, and that saved my life. It took me 100 years to finish that program because I kept quitting, you know, and I take a class, you know, leave, go to New York, sing with a band. It was all about, I had things that I needed to express. So singing with the band was really helpful. And I was writing music, you know, I'd wake up with a song in my head. It was just fantastic. The only problem was I was very shy. So the guitar player would be in the front, kicking his legs up, having a great time or whatever. And I would just be in the back. And I thought, you know, that's not going to work out if I want to be a singer to hide behind the bass player and so on. And so I went back and I finished my BA in English Lit. And I took classes in creative writing, and I had this amazing professor, Dr. Combs, who is my muse, you know, and I see her every summer. She passed away years ago, but she comes to me in the form of a praying mantis every summer. And that's so funny because I hate praying mantis, not hated. I don't like, hate is such a strong word. I'd rather not be in the same space as a praying mantis. And I remember saying that to Dr. Combs. I said, Dr. Combs, I just saw this animal in front of my house. I didn't know what it was. And I explained it to her, and she said, that's a praying mantis. They're so good. They're so beautiful. But the good thing about Dr. Combs was she would ask me to submit one story, and I would submit 3. And I just loved it. And my English wasn't really that good then. And she would say to me, you know, I don't know what it means, but I love it. And what a great teacher. What an awesome teacher. And even in elementary school, I guess, you know, in retrospect, that's when I really wrote something that was truly important to me. And I suppose that was where my double identity, you know, living on, trying to stay under that radar began. Because I remember the teacher, Mrs. Roach, that was her name, in Montclair, New Jersey. I love Mrs. Roach. And that was the first book I read in English was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. So I read Rebecca, and I love Rebecca. I didn't understand half of it. But the teacher, being as amazing as she was, she showed us the movie with Laurence Olivier and I think Vivian Leigh, right? So I saw Rebecca, and then she was like, okay, I want you guys now to write a different ending or something to the story. And I just went crazy and just wrote this whole new story. And I remember all the students in class saying, "You didn't write that, you didn't do that." And I remember feeling I did something wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Why? They don't believe me. It never occurred to me that they felt that way, possibly because it was that good. I never thought of it that way. I didn't think of it that way. And I still have problems believing that people actually read what I write, you know. So the moment when I realized that I really want to be a writer and do it, I guess part of it is I'm still working on that, because the reality, as you said, being badass is not something that is constant and continuous. You have to, you have to play the game. You have to play the part. Fake it until you become it. Just keep doing it. Just keep at it. My book, what is it? Voices. Mouth Don't Speak is now an Audible. And my husband said, "Are you gonna listen to it?" And I said, no. Why would I want to listen to it? And so somebody bought it, and I had a chance to listen to it for a little while, and I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. So fighting a lot of the imposter syndrome. Do you get that?
I do. I think a lot of writers do, where we just feel, even when people appreciate what we do, I think because part of us is able to imagine how much better it might be. Sometimes we're just not satisfied with what we've produced, or we've listened to that inner voice for so long telling us that we're not good enough, that even when we recognize that the work is good enough, we don't feel worthy of our own work. So I'm guessing, yeah, there are different ways that imposter syndrome manifests itself. But I keep saying that, yeah, it's an annoying thing to suffer from, but at the same time, it's connected to our inner critic. And I think that same inner critic is what's guiding us when we're trying to kind of get better into what we do, right? Into our craft. So we just have to learn with the good and the bad. Yes, I'm going to feel like I suck. I totally suck at what I do. But at the same time, I kind of need that warning signal when I'm being too, um, when I'm not being rigid enough with myself, with how great something might be. It's the same, it's that same voice that lets me know that, that could be much more better. So yeah, just learning to live with it, really.
Yeah, learning to live with it. I'm um trying to learn to live with it. Actually, you know what the reality is at this point, it just is what it is. I've come to accept it. I've come to accept the fact that I will never feel like my work is good enough, simply because I know it can always be better. I know I can always learn, and I'm so excited about that, to know that I can always learn something more from somebody, from anybody, from everybody. And that's why I love my students, because, you sit in the classroom and people think that, because you're sitting, first of all, that's why I don't like to be at the head of the classroom. I'm moving all around. Of course, now I'm plunked in this chair because I'm teaching, like everybody else. using this machine, right? Using the monitor. And which is so unlike me, because I'm usually running around the classroom, kicking my legs, just really having a great time with the students, keeping everybody engaged and so on. And just, I mean, I come alive in the room. I come alive when I have an opportunity to read my work. I mean, you see, I just turn into this other person. It's like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. I want to be in this classroom. I want to help you do this, you know, and we're going to learn from each other, because, you know, these people on this side of the room, they don't know what you know. So we all have something to teach, and we all have something to learn. And how exciting is it to be together? Now what's happening, you know, with the Zoom, it takes a lot to try and get everybody all, come on, let's go. It's, oh my word, but I keep trying. I keep writing, and have given up on the possibility or the probability that at some point I will sit there and say, oh yeah, that was really a great piece of writing. I'm not the kind of, I don't think that'll ever happen. But I did write one line 100 years ago that I love. You know, I wrote one line that I love. That's weird. But, you know, and I do like my songs, the songs I write more than I like the stories I write. You know, I'm not sure why that is, but I do. I wrote this line, and it was for the first anthology that my work showed up in. And that was the time, you know, and I think it was like 2001, my word, about 20 years ago, when you had to submit the thing to the mailbox and drop it in the mailbox, and you had to send a self-addressed stamped envelope, what they call the sassy. And then if the editor liked what you wrote, you know, they would, you know, accept it. If they did not, they would, you know, return it to you with the stamp that you provided. And I remember dropping my letter, my submission in the mailbox, and thinking, ah, man, I want to get it back. I just really wanted to get that thing back. And so then I'm thinking, well, if I reach into, I got this thing, I just got to rip this thing out, because I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it, was getting on my nerves. And so I was thinking, I want to reach inside this mailbox and just get my submission back. It's my letter. I wrote it. I bought the stamp. I wrote the address on there. I want to get it back. But at that point, I would have been committing a crime. You know, you cannot reach into a mailbox and take mail out. That is illegal, because I knew deep somewhere within that was going to be accepted, and that truly was going to be the beginning of my writing life. I just knew it. I knew it. And sure enough, a few weeks later, I got a letter saying, you know, we love your story. Hi, I love your story. And that's Miss Edwidge Dantica. And I shall never stop speaking her name, because she gave me my start in writing. I like your story. I would like to publish it. I'm sitting there going, oh, no. But so they did publish it in that anthology, The Butterfly's Way, right? So that was the beginning. And then I stopped writing after that, because I was getting a little bit of attention and I couldn't handle it. And it was like, you know what? If, you know, I did write, but I stopped submitting anything to anybody. That was it. So I just kept my little stories to myself, and just kept them until, you know, I was just bursting with stories, and I needed, because at that point I was not with the band anymore, of course, and I didn't have a way to make music, but I had I had something I wanted to say. There were things I wanted to say. And like Toni Morrison says, if there's a book, you know, you want to read and you haven't, what's the quote? If there's a book you want to read and you have not, and no one has written it, then you have to write it yourself.
Right.
So that's one of my favorite, and I just paraphrased that. But my top #1 favorite quote is by Maya Angelou. I want to say Angelou, but apparently it's Angelou. It says, there is no greater torture or pain than bearing an untold story inside of you.
That's true.
You know, and I really feel that, and that is the truth. And I just hope that I don't run out of time, because there's so many stories I have to tell and that I need to tell. And because of that, then I have to put that imposter syndrome in the back burner somewhere and keep moving forward, and just I have to keep moving forward, you know, for better or worse. I've got to keep moving forward. I've got to keep writing. And that also means that I'm going to have to stop teaching the way I teach now. But I think I can be of help to my students and future students as a writer. Because after having seen what the pandemic has done to us as teachers and students in a classroom, I think, you know, it's given me another perspective of how I can be of use, of help, of how I can use my life to impact students, to have a greater impact on student lives, to motivate them, to show them that they are worthy, that they are not imposters, you know, especially here in this town. And the kids, and when I say kids, you know, they're like 18, 20 years old, but to me, they're like, you know, I call them kids. My daughter is 16, you know, and I feel that it is our responsibility, or my responsibility as a Black woman, especially in this town where we've got children whose lives are just being wasted by so many crazy incidences, by so many different situations, that, you know, and you've been a teacher, and we always say, if we can just save one, you know, if we can just save one, and yeah, I'm up for more than one. Yeah, and my life will have been worth it. Yeah.
Katia, thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us today. I mean, it's been so inspiring listening to you talk about your journey, your experience as a teacher, how you became a writer. And I just feel so inspired right now. I want to thank you. But before you go, I wanted to ask you, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Thank you for asking that. No, seriously. And the reason I responded this way is because, you know, you're saying thank you for, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's been ages. You have no idea how happy I am to see your face and that smile. I can't, the last time I said it was in Miami, I think. And then before that, I think he was in LA. And if only if only we live closer. Oh my word, I just know it would just be phenomenal. If people want to find me, I'm easy to find. My website is Katia D. Ulysse, is my name, .com, you know. I'm not on Twitter. I tried Twitter. And as much as I can talk, I just can't tweet. I'm just not I just can't. I tried it. And right now I'm on it undercover. I got a little undercover thing going. And it's called Still Growing. I'm still growing on Twitter. But I think I've got like one follower, and then that's my husband. And then, so really, Facebook, which is for the older generation, I guess. And I'm also on Instagram. But definitely, hit me up on my website. You'll find my contact information, or you can get me at Katia at katiadulysse.com, just like that.
Awesome. Thank you again, Katia, and I hope you'll come back at a later time and hang out with us again at Badass Black Girl. But in the meantime, keep shining.
Thank you so much.